Welcome to Pacific Time. I'm Wan Ha. Food safety is on everyone's minds lately. President Bush this week set up a special panel to examine just how safe are the imported food and other products coming to the United States. The White House says the panel isn't targeting Chinese goods, but China is the big panda in the living room. To show it was cracking down, Beijing this week executed the former head of its State Food and Drug Administration who'd been convicted of taking bribes. And inside China, consumers, both locals and Western expats, are growing increasingly concerned about the food they feed their families day in and out. And as Will Freeman reports from Beijing, some are turning to an alternative food supply.
3-year-old Rachel Perlman shows off her Mandarin skills for a visitor to her playgroup by reciting a Chinese poem she learned from her nanny. Rachel's mom, Leora Perlman, is hosting the other expat mothers and toddlers today. Leora also leads an online forum called Beijing Organic Consumers, and she says that food safety issues are on everyone's mind.
All of a sudden, we feel like we're under assault. The air is horrible. You can't drink your tap water. You're scared of everything. I've got children. I want to protect them. What in the world is happening in this country, around me?
And the concern isn't limited to foreign residents. Leora Perlman's domestic worker, Miss Wei, chimes in.
These days, there's also TV shows that expose all the unhealthy foods, so we're all extremely nervous and scared about it.
Dr. Paul Thiers, who studies agriculture and food safety programs in China, says the recent scandals have been a concern to local people, but not a surprise.
Urban Chinese consumers are aware of a range of food safety issues. Food safety problems make it into the Chinese media generally pretty quickly, particularly if somebody dies.
One of those well-publicized incidents was last year's Red Heart egg scandal.
There's a high premium for eggs that have a very red yolk in China because it does originally indicate some nutrition. It tells you something about the feed the chickens ate. Then the government made legal certain vegetable dyes that could be used to make that yolk redder. But some unscrupulous egg brokers began to use Sudan dye, which is very poisonous but very cheap, to make the yolks red. And some people died from it, and it blew up into a big controversy, a lot of corruption scandal.
Stores like this one in Shanghai that specialize in organic and vegetarian food have sprung up to feed the demand for safer products. Its proprietor, Mr. Hong, says Chinese consumers need to be cautious about even unprocessed foods like fruit and vegetables.
The vendors use lots of tricks. For example, there's a certain gel you can add to strawberries to make them stay ripe and colorful and not rot too soon. But the gel is extremely unhealthy. They add chemicals to all kinds of fruits, making them better looking, but actually more dangerous.
There have been organic farmers in the Chinese agriculture sector since the early 1990s, but until the last few years, their products were primarily intended for the export market. Now there are 28 domestic groups which certify organic food. But neither Chinese nor expatriate consumers put much trust in these certification organizations, says Dr. Thiers.
The biggest problem in the domestic market is consumer confidence, and surveys have shown that. Chinese consumers want to buy safer food, but they just don't trust certification.
Leora Perlman and her domestic worker, Miss Wei, expressed that skepticism.
As for the labels, well, you just can't be sure. That is, the label might say organic, but the food isn't really organic. It's fake.
There's some cynicism about China in general. Who says they're following the rules? Who says that having a sticker means anything? Who says that they didn't just pay off the guy? Who says that they're not just farming the normal old methods and calling it organic? To some degree, these concerns, they have merit.
But another member of the expat playgroup, Tress Alice, saw the situation improving.
The concern that I had before we came here was the availability of organic foods. But in the year that we've been here, it's become easier and easier. So now I could say that we eat almost exclusively organic fruits and vegetables.
Urban Chinese consumers are getting on board too. I spoke with one customer at Beijing's new organic supermarket chain, Lohao City.
I think there are better quality products here. I have a daughter, and that's why I'm here, to buy food for her. She likes to eat jam.
Even Angus Lamb, campaign manager of Greenpeace China's Food and Agriculture Program, which works to expose unsafe food here, admits to some progress in the domestic organic market.
So now there's a national seal and there's a legislation to protect consumers' rights, and also there's an accreditation system to control and to monitor the certifying bodies that doing organic certification work in China. So if you buy the real organic food here with a proper OFDC logo and then with the Chinese government seal, I think it's a reliable product.
But as the world's largest country continues to develop at breakneck speeds, experts agree that it will remain difficult for even the most honest and willing government officials to keep food safe. Paul Thiers says it's not a question of business ethics.
I don't think that Chinese producers and processors are any less ethical than their counterparts in North America or Europe. The real question is, how well can you regulate the food system? And to some extent, the Chinese food system, has industrialized much more quickly than the capacity to regulate it. That's partly due to the tremendous demand for exports. And that's true in clothing and computers and every other product that China exports, car parts. But of course in food we notice it more, because food safety, as opposed to t-shirt safety, is a big issue.
And how the food safety issue is addressed could affect the perception of Chinese products, both at home and abroad, for decades to come. For Pacific Time, I'm Will Freeman.